What's up, guys? Nick from Comic Culture here. It's time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. If you want to get caught up on some of these books, I'll have links down below in the description. It's a great way to help support the channel, and I can help you save some cash with a discount code. Let's get into the books I read this week, though. A Mischief of Magpies. This is a new one from Cy Spurrier. We have Bergara on the art. It's a distillery book, so you don't really know what you're going to get with these. A lot of them are hit or miss for me, but this one was actually really interesting. Not only is the story interesting, but the format of the book, the way that it's laid out, the way that it tells the story, the compositions, the way the lettering works, it's very unique for a comic book. It's kind of a hybrid between a more traditional novel, something else, and comic book. So aesthetically, it's a really interesting package. But story-wise, we do follow this young boy. He's living in a family unit that is not ideal for him. He has a younger sibling who is sick. The parents are very distracted. He's pretty much on his own, left to his own imagination. He goes into this mysterious world whenever he dreams, and he's kind of the ruler or savior of this world, and he's trying to understand all those rules. He does battle a lot of things like depression and bullying and just going through school and having relationships, things like that. He's growing up. He's a young person. He grows up into a teenager, and he has these dreams that are intermittently dispersed throughout his entire life that he's trying to figure out at the same time. So it's kind of a coming of life story, but it's also a story about him slipping into a magical world and escaping the reality that he's in. And his family unit is going through a lot of traumatic things with his younger sibling as well, with this unfortunate diagnosis. So there's a lot of cool emotional beats in here, interesting storytelling. It changes the way comics are read, which I thought was pretty cool. So if you haven't checked this one out and you have a chance to pick it up at your shop, I would highly recommend checking it out just to see if you enjoy the vibe of it. It's got some of the best creative people in comics today collaborating on a really interesting story. I'm going to try to keep up with this one. Hopefully Distillery doesn't jack up the release schedule. Now the next one is from Ignition Press. We have Arcadia. We have issue number 6 from the Miranda brothers. This is a very interesting series in general. So I've said it many, many times before. The design of the book, the interior artwork, the aesthetic, the color palette, the lettering, the character designs, everything about the visual aspect of this comic is very unique and it's amazing. I really like what they're doing there. From a story perspective, I feel like they're truncating this story a little bit. There are some skipped beats, right, between moments, between scenes. I could have used a little bit more fluidity in the storytelling process. It kind of skips around and jumps like a skipping record almost, right? Like you get the song, right, but you're missing all the nuance. I feel like that's what it really needs in the story here. And I only say that because the story is really cool. I just want more of it. I want that little fluidity added back into this mix, right? We have this dystopian world. We have these different alien characters, robotic characters, hybrids. We have some humanity sprinkled in here and there. We have these monsters everywhere. It's a combination of a lot of cool ideas that we've seen in the past with like sci-fi fantasy kinds of properties. And I want to root for these characters. I want to learn more about them. I want to be in their shoes. And we get that for the most part, but it skips around a little bit too much. This issue does a lot of world building. We get to see more of the villains. We get to see more of the monsters in the area, what the broader landscape looks like. And we get introduced to a new character in here too, who's going to be joining our protagonists. We also get a lot of cool backstory too on some of the characters. So again, like it's doing a great job of blowing out the world and it's a great looking book. I just feel like it's a little bit skippy here and there, but solid series overall. This is issue number 6. So technically this should be the end of the first arc. We're going to see where it goes from here. All right. The King of Existential Crisis is back. We have Assorted Crisis Events issue number 9. We have Camp on this one. We have Zawadzki. We have an amazing crew on this book. A long awaited, man. It's been gone for a few months now, and the absence was certainly felt. So I'll preface this with saying, if you have not read Assorted Crisis Events yet, if you like books like Ice Cream Man, you like those existential books, it takes a deep dive on a certain aspect of humanity itself and maybe the culture itself, maybe the worldview itself. Like if you like those kinds of books, you're really going to dig this one. They are all disconnected, so you can read any single issue you want in any order. There is a very, very loose connective thread between them that you would barely recognize. But yeah, I would highly recommend checking this whole series out in any order that you want. You could start here if you wanted to. This one's really interesting. It's following this young boy who's trying to pick up all these oddball jobs throughout time. There's this company that will hire you. It will stick you into different time periods, and you fight like this never-ending battle between these two factions that, again, is raging war across time. There's all these little side quests and side jobs that he can sign up for as well. Some of his peers are doing those exact same things just to make a little bit more money on the side for whatever reasons back home. It is a slow grind into depression as you go through this book about how much your efforts aren't being rewarded, and you get to see exactly like the effects of tax on your income, things like that. And also what like the job is doing to you physically, mentally, and emotionally. There's also a dog eat dog world kind of a thing going on in here too, where you think that you have some friends, you think that you have these coworkers that you trust and rely on, but there's also these backstabbing moments that you have to negotiate and navigate through rather. And it was an interesting reflection on like, I don't know, like the corporate life in general. It was pretty funny. I feel like I don't have to say anything about Zawadzki's art, but I will anyways. It's absolutely magnificent. You can see the different composition that he's playing with. You can see the coloring from Jordi Belair. Haas is on the lettering, doing an amazing job as always. This book from an artistic point of view and just from a design point of view is one of the best books on the shelf. So if you haven't been reading this one, you want that little existential kick, check this one out. All right, next one is Avengers Armageddon issue number 2. Chip Zdarsky on this one. I shamelessly like this series so far, but it's not really anything super original. Like we've seen these kinds of things happen in Civil War. There's an annoying thing happening right now with like Team Marvel books where the heroes are going to attack something head on and they do so, but there's a lot of casualties. There's a lot of destruction because of their involvement and they get blamed for it. We saw that a lot inside of the recent Doom epic that we just got out of, and it's kind of being played in here as well. And we also saw it in some of the movies too recently where it led into Civil War itself. So like we're retreading on a lot of familiar territory, which is kind of annoying. But at the same time, I think that that era of Marvel that they're referring to in the last, 10, 15 years or so was an interesting time period. So it's fun to kind of go back to those things and see what the heroes would be doing in that situation nowadays. Of course, we hit shuffle on the people involved. We have some new enemies. We have some new mix-up of the heroes trying to take on these threats, and we've learned a little bit since then, since Civil War, but it seems like we're kind of playing through the same old thing. Artistically, it's a really good-looking book. There's lots of action, there's lots of characters, cool environments, things like that. So aesthetically, it looks pretty cool. It's interesting. It's certainly on... it's piqued my interest more than the typical Marvel book would, although it has some of the baggage that I have with some of the Marvel books being pulled forward into it at the same time. Next one is Batwoman issue number 5. Of course, we have Rucka on this one. We have Danny, which is like my only reason why I'm reading this book, to be honest. Like my respect for Danny's abilities and her artwork and her legacy is what's bringing me to this story and what has kept me on this run so far in a story that I would otherwise have dropped by now. We are 5 issues in. We are technically 1 issue away from what you would call volume 1. And I gotta say, like, my interest in it, my desire to know the end of the story is not really there. It hasn't been built up just yet. We have a antagonist that I don't quite understand. I don't really understand their power set and who they are, and why they're so formidable. I don't quite see our protagonist as somebody that's also like a person that could take care of any kind of threats. Like the Batwoman character herself hasn't really proved herself, right? We're still trying to come out of some trauma, some mental trauma and rehab that we've had recently. We have a very traumatic history with our sister that we're trying to uncover here. There's some resolution there, or the beginnings of resolution there, but there's also some seeds of maybe backsliding that's been baked into that same exact storyline. So I don't quite know where we're going and why this villain threat is a threat to begin with. So unfortunately, I have to say that I'm not really invested in the story. I'm not really invested in where it's going to go, like how we're going to resolve these threats and these issues that are out there. It's got an incredible creative team on the book, but the story is what's really holding this one back. We're going to get out of volume number 1 here soon. Maybe number 2 is going to move past this. Once the foundation is set, we're going to get back to Gotham. We're going to do other things. I don't really know, but there's really nothing keeping me on this book right now. What about you? Next one is Catwoman 89. We have Grom back on this one. I've been a champion of Catwoman for a little while now. I picked the series back up maybe 10 issues ago, and it's been really cool to see what Selina is up to, some of the cast members that she's interacting with. Black Mask is essentially one of the main villains in this story. He is terrorizing Selina in every way that he knows how, messing with her past, her present, and just kind of like threatening the entire city of Gotham, really making her make really difficult decisions. Do you protect your own or do you protect the masses? That's what this issue is all about. That theme is not too unusual when it comes to villains inside of Gotham. Like, which one do you take care of first? Your own selfish needs or the masses' needs, right? We really get to see some of the repercussions of that inside of here. Many different bombs are planted throughout the city. It's a very familiar subject, but Selina has to make some tough decisions and try to move some of her supporting cast around to help her win the day. The issue does eventually lead into a confrontation between her and Black Mask, and that's where we stop this issue here. It's a long time coming. I don't know if it's going to be resolved in the next issue, issue number 90, but that would be kind of cool if it did. I just really enjoy this book. Artistically, it's really fun to look at. Some of the artwork is incredible from a color point of view as well. So there's a lot of cool things going on inside the story. So if you've been dodging this book for whatever reason, I recommend going back and checking out the beginning of this arc here. It's a great place to jump in, probably around 83, 84, something like that. So there's not a lot of catch up needed here. All right, next up is Dork issue number 6. Dork is face to face with the embodiment of fate itself, like the spirit of fate. And so Dork is learning a lot of valuable lessons about life and about choices. And, he is somebody that can control his own destiny. And so we front load the first half of this book with a lot of back and forth conversation and riddles and whatnot between those two characters. Towards the end of the book, though, we get a massive revelation as to where Dork came from and who some of the people around him truly are. So a lot of bombs are dropped in this issue. So certainly an issue that expands the world building and some of the stakes at play here. And in classic fashion, this book leaves us at a interesting cliffhanger that we're going to be exploring in the next issue here, but a really tight first volume, I'd say, maybe an issue and a half of fluff here and there, specifically in issue number 5, but it certainly got us to where we are now. So nice volume number 1. If you've been dodging this book for whatever reason, I recommend picking up volume 1. You can caught right back up in volume number 2 with issue number 7. Next up is Deathstroke The Terminator issue number 5, a series that has made my pick of the week twice so far, and we're only on issue number 5. It's a fantastic series. I think this book is so successful because it obviously gives you those action beats because of who these characters are. They're assassins, they're anti-heroes. We are in a really gritty area right now inside of like the broader Gotham universe, but it also can play into those quiet moments in an equally interesting way. There's so much tragedy to explore, and that's what this issue is really all about. We're going back in time, we're learning about our tragedy, we're learning about some of our family units and how they were disrupted through just like the day-to-day workings of an assassin, and that's really in the forefront in this issue. Some of those demons are coming back to haunt us in here. We have a mysterious character that showed up here and there in the last couple of issues. We get a full reveal inside this issue, and I was blown away by it and by the cliffhanger at the end of it as well. This series continues to go above and beyond all my expectations, so I cannot be more happy with where the story has gone and the creative team on this one. I highly recommend picking this one up. Next one is G.I. Joe issue number 24, continuing our Energon universe, my favorite Energon book on the stands right now. This one is all about Crystal Ball and the evolution of his dire tech with the Energon power source. Some of the Joes and Destro and some of his folks are trying to escape the clutches of Crystal Ball, and we understand what his constructs are really made out of and how formidable a threat he really is and how valuable his technology is to other people. It does focus on risk a little bit here. We get a lot of Baroness, we get a lot of Destro action in here as well. Their temporary truce has ended towards the middle of this book, but it was cool to see them teaming up and to take on the odds together. We get some very interesting developments back at Joe headquarters with Zartan and what he's been up to this entire time. Maybe his cover is blown. We're going to be seeing the repercussions of that here in future issues. Some really shocking things happen in here too. So this is a book that continues to educate me on the Joe universe. It continues to shock me with how far it's willing to go. And yeah, I'm having a really good time with it. Just from a story point of view, from an art point of view, everything about this story has been hitting it for me. Let me know if you guys are reading Joe. What do you guys think? Next up is If Destruction Be Our Lot. We have issue number 3, a very interesting story. So we were having a conversation about this with some of the guys, and we agree that there really is no antagonist in this book besides the environment itself. So it's really weird to, be rooting for our heroes to be defeating nothing, basically their environment, which is kind of weird. We're 3 issues in and we don't exactly know where to put our hatred, and besides in the direction of things that are trying to hurt our protagonist, the Abraham Lincoln robotic avatar. Now, you don't really know when you first start a new series if it's going to be a slow burn or not. I think it's becoming evident that this one will. We had these the foundational first issue where we understand the landscape, we understand like the history and where we are now, the myth of like humans still existing, what's beyond the walls, we don't quite know yet, and we're 3 issues in and we still don't really have a lot of those answers. We got introduced to a human character recently in the book, but that has kind of came and gone, and we don't really have any kind of closure or next steps as far as that goes. So we are just kind of treading right now. We're back kind of at ground zero, and we don't really know where we're going just yet. We've gotten past all the roadblocks of the first 3 issues. We still have the same exact unanswered questions from issue number 1, and we don't really have, like I said before, a clear path forward. We don't really know what we're tackling in issue number 4 besides like, I don't know, like the mental demons that our character has. It's going to be one of those books that's going to take some time to figure out, like, where are we going from here? What's going to be our next thing? We're going to be always hunting down the humans and seeing what's outside the greater landscape of this town, but we don't really have any kind of clear idea just yet. Next up is Invincible Universe Battle Beast issue number 11, continuing our epic battle with Conquest, and man, this issue certainly delivers on that. It's basically 24 pages of them kicking the crap out of each other in the most brutal way possible, but towards the end, they sort of have to put that on pause and align with each other to take on a much bigger threat that has just come by. This book is all about the carnage, it's about the gore, it's about the intensity, it's the over-the-topness of this story that just makes this work so well. These two personalities going head to head is awesome. They both have this weird, cruel sickness to them that they're exploiting in here. And man, it is such a good time. Ryan Ottley's doing an amazing job of just portraying the character emotions and the shock and just the goriness of everything. And yeah, this is just one of those books that makes you smile, makes you laugh, it makes you cheer while you're reading it. Issue number 11, this fight with Conquest is not over yet. It's probably going to go on for another issue or two after this. And as somebody who's finished Invincible, I'm anxious to see like what's the end of this story look like? Like where are we going to weave back into the Invincible timeline? If you've read through Invincible, you kind of know where we might be timeline wise in that universe. So I'm interested to see like how far this story is going to go in general. And obviously like what stops this battle. That's going to be fun to see. Let me know if you have any thoughts down below. Next up is Minotaur issue number 1 from Cy Spurrier Ignition Press on this. It's very similar to a Mischief of Magpies in its composition, layout, and comic book approach, but it doesn't do it as much inside this one. It is a story that has a lot of different technical things going on inside of it. We have this environment where we're talking about the singularity when it comes to technology. We have these insanely rich people that are tech-driven, that are hiring some folks to get their help and to investigate some technological anomalies that are happening across the world. We have local governments and agencies trying to suppress some of that knowledge from certain people. So we have this really interesting combat zone type of a thing around these technological anomalies everywhere. There's a lot of mystery and speculation and just mysticism when it comes to like what's technically possible in these areas and like the technology behind everything. It's a little bit ambiguous, but it's certainly suggesting that it's going to be a big deal to tap into whatever this is. Part of the charm of the story are the characters that are involved. We have these hired help that are sent out to investigate these areas and the interaction between them. It's like worlds collide sort of stuff. It's kind of cool to see these people teaming up and taking on the odds here. I don't know if this book has given me enough to want to read an issue number 2, but I might be checking it out depending on the week. It certainly had some interesting beats in it, had some great interior artwork, but unfortunately it's coming out during a week where there's a lot of books that release. This 3rd, 4th week of the month is incredibly busy. So this might be a hot seat book for next month, but we'll see. Let me know if you guys read this one. Next up is Of the Earth issue number 3. Not a whole lot of surprises in here. The story is playing out exactly as I expected it to, which pretty much reinforces my opinion of this being a trade read. I would suggest kind of holding off on this one. Just read it in one big sitting, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. We do get some more revelations as to this evil and what its actual impact is on people and the way that it makes them go insane. We may have seen this previously in other areas of the universe. Some of these characters feel like this is a familiar thing, but it's a pretty hush-hush unknown reality. So we're trying to reconcile all of that. The solicitations for this book go until September with issue number 5, where we finally confront whatever this mysterious force is. So I think it would be a good idea to end it right there. I think it's going to be a nice, tight 5-issue book. Put it out in a trade. It'll probably do well in that format. It's a book that makes you want to learn more and read more once you get to the end of the issue, and it's somewhat predictable at the same time. So I feel like in a trade read, it would handle really well. Next up is Something Epic, issue number 13. Simon Kodransky, the one-man art comics team, is back on this one. Sort of a continuation of the previous arc, issues 1 through 12. It does take a little bit of historical knowledge on these characters and their motives and the journey that they're on to fully comprehend everything that's happening inside of here. But at the same time, it's also new reader friendly from the point of view of we just kind of hop back into the routine of these two characters, investigating ways to get inside of the horror realm. Now, again, this series is coming off of the heels of a major murder investigation of mythological proportions. So there's a lot of backstory that we don't quite go through inside the issue, but it certainly has this like moodiness and this like horror element, this like nuance to it that makes you feel like you're in the environment. The artwork itself, the coloring and the atmosphere, all that stuff just makes you feel like you're inside the story, which is something that he's done perfectly well in all the books he's written. We're facing our biggest fears inside the issue. We are trying to sacrifice that, trying to experience that to really put ourselves in the mindscape that we need to be to get into this horror realm and continue our murder investigation. It's one of the most interesting, most imaginative stories that's out right now. It's also one of the best looking comics that that is being drawn at the moment. So I really recommend going back, starting from issue number 1 and get caught up. I think it's well worth it. All right, David Pepose and team are back with Space Ghost Annual 2026, a direct continuation from the previous run. It is a story that is contemplating like the desire and the motives and just the willingness to continue as a Space Ghost character. We have a lot to lose. We came from a lot of tragedy. We lost our family in the past. We have this new adopted family that has joined our life, has helped the cause and everything, but at what cost? We've seen some tragedies on the hero's side recently, and we don't want to go through that all again. Should we hang up the cape? Should we burn it all down? Or do we continue to go forward? That's what this issue really contemplates. It's also about just reimagining that family unit. It's all about coming together, supporting each other in our time of need, and it's all about introducing new threats and trying to reconcile some of the trauma of the past. That's what we're dealing with in here. I feel like not enough people are reading the story because they have this preconceived notion of what Space Ghost is based on like Coast to Coast and maybe some of the cartoons they saw earlier on. This is not your dad's Space Ghost. This is a more gritty, more mature, heavy emotion, heavy action, loss, tragedy. It's a real amazing book. I really recommend going back and reading some of the first volumes of this and getting caught right back up. You need all that building context to really appreciate what's happening in the most current pages of the story. If you decide to do that, I really envy you. I can't imagine going back and reading this all again for the first time. Lastly, we read the Savage Sword of Conan issue number 15. We have Amanda Condor and Jimmy Palmiotti on this one, which was a duo I was not expecting on a Savage Sword of Conan book or Conan in general. Let me know down below if they've written this character before. We also have Andy Bellinger on this one, an artist that I'm not super familiar with, taking on Conan. It certainly had a different aesthetic to the character itself. I feel like from a writing point of view, it tried to do its best to tell you a typical Conan story in that narrative way that we've come to learn and love from previous writers. There's a certain narration quality that we expect inside of books of Savage Sword and Conan. Even books like Spawn have it, for instance, where there's this flowery language that they throw into there to really accentuate what's happening during the battles and just the emotional beats throughout the story. It starts to have that towards the beginning. It's not as poetic as we're used to. It falls off somewhere in the first couple of pages, and we don't really quite pick that back up ever again. Maybe it's here and there, but it's certainly not on every page like we expect it to be. Conan's no stranger to having female companions inside of his story. They're usually very formidable, or there's somebody that he needs to rescue. In this case, it's a little bit of both. The relationship feels a little bit different than what we typically see. It didn't quite hit me like a normal Conan book would. There's some things about it that just didn't work for me. The art wasn't very consistent either. There was moments in it that really worked. There were some really cool battle scenes, and there were some great poses and some cool landscapes and things like that. Really great like world building and everything. But there were some moments where made me chuckle seeing some facial expressions or some body movements or some positioning, stuff like that, that kind of took me out of the comic. It wasn't something that was just beautiful page to page to page. So the story didn't quite work with me. The relationships didn't work. That narration that we know and love wasn't quite there and hitting it even when it was there. And the art wasn't super consistent either. This might be the first Savage Sword of Conan book that we've gotten so far, and Conan book in general, that didn't really work for me. But all right, guys, that's what I read this week. Let's go over to League of Comic Geeks now and see what I'm interested in for next week. All right, guys, let's go over to League of Comic Geeks. We're going to go to new comics. We're going to change the date to July 22nd, see what's coming out. We have an Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 22. Love this series. Definitely grabbing that one. Absolute Superman 21. Same thing. We have an epic battle that we're going to be dealing with in the pages of this issue. Not really grabbing any of these main titles up here. Going down to the second row, we have TMNT issue 300 or number 20 in the IDW run. I'll be checking that one out, as well as Zatanna issue number 4. This is kind of a hot seat book for me, though. We have Terminal issue number 1, the new one from Robert Kirkman and a bunch of great creators. If you want to get on the ground floor of a new number 1 from Robert Kirkman, this is your time to do it. There's also some blind bags and a bunch of other variant covers to look at. Swamp Thing 89 issue number 4. I love this canceled run that has been coming back and just kicking butt ever since. Really enjoying that one. There's not a whole lot of books that are on my pull list. We have capes. I'm just kind of stacking those for now. We have Ezra Kane, Brutal Dark. We have a issue number 6, the wrapping up of this first volume here from DC Vertigo. It's been a really interesting story. Continuing on, I might be cover grabbing a Frizzen for Hell of Darkness, not entirely sure if I ordered that one. We have Dog Tag issue number 3, fantastic wartime story from Mark Russell and team. We have Usagi Yojimbo Kaito 84, issue number 5, fantastic series. Pick this up in trade if you haven't been reading the single issues. Amazing artwork and storytelling in that. And we're going to go through and see if there's anything else that stands out. I am grabbing Murder Drones issue number 5. Me and my daughter like to read that one together, but I don't see a whole lot of other issues coming out. We have a bunch of different ash cans hitting the stands soon as well. We have a Chainkata coming out. We also had the Carmen Blade, and we had Hammer Fist coming out, so check your LCS for those ash cans. All right, guys, that's what I read, and that's what I'm interested in for next week. Let me know down below what you read and what your pick of the week was. Then while you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the comments.